So I'm going to start this one off in like a really depressing way. My biggest regret in life is like not finishing so many different animation projects over the years. I mean, I suppose that's a good thing considering that's such a minor regret, I guess. But the thing is, I've realized, sadly fairly recently, that the quickest and most efficient way to improve is just to do it. Like, you can study up on any sort of artistic aspect you want, but without actual hands-on experience, it's really difficult to actually know what you need to do. I get this a lot with 3D models. I can spend like weeks at a time on a model, but the second I start animating with it, I'll know that something's wrong. A lot quicker than I would have if I just like spent ages checking over the model, making sure everything's perfect. So it's really more ideal for me to kind of make a model, do something with it, take it back and edit it, and then go back and do more things with it. Because you get a sense of, oh, this problem commonly crops up here, etc, etc. But not only that, I think old art is really interesting to look at. Like, seeing where someone started off artistically is always, like, fascinating to me. I know loads of people who will, they'll demand you never look at their old work, they'll enlist their old art, etc, like, stuff like that. But I don't like that. I think that it's really interesting to see where someone came from, even if it's, like, really awful, like, edgy, cringy art or whatever. But it's still interesting to see what that person learned or the way they used to think things went. Like, I have so many scripts and storyboards and things that I planned to do when I was a lot younger, but I didn't do because I thought it would be bad or cringy or just terrible for whatever reason. But I'm reading a lot of the stuff, like, from the point that I'm at now, and I'm kind of like, I really don't dislike a lot of the old stuff I did. Like, it's terrible, maybe, but I was like 13, 14 to maybe 17 when I made a lot of the stuff I don't like. A lot of them are like, I've got a bunch of these old Minecraft animations I wish I'd made back in, must have been 2011, like, really old. Pre-Minecraft mainstream, maybe, I'm not sure. This is gonna sound cheesy and generic, but I think all art you make should be made for you. Because you're like the one person you know is going to be coming back to look at this. So, you should do what you think would be cool, and not what you think people just wouldn't like. As artsy-fartsy and positivity as that sounds, but it really is true. So I'm just going to go down a small list of projects I never finished, and yeah, let's see how much of a mess this is. So these aren't going to be in any particular order, I'm just going to talk about them as they come to mind. The first one was a really small one. It was just one of the zero punctuation credits animations, but I was just going to remake it in CG. The one from when he reviewed Minecraft. The idea is he's just digging in a tunnel, and he opens a block, and there's two of the little imps doing unholy things in there, and he just covers up the hole. Now, it's not exactly a groundbreaking or hugely innovative idea, but I wish I'd done this one just because it would have taught me a lot about lighting and just the basics of animation. It was actually a pretty good idea for an early project to start because the landscape was super simplistic and the zero punctuation models are very also simplistic at the same time, so it wouldn't have required much in the way of like geometry or like, shape keys to like flex any facial motions. So it wouldn't have been the hardest thing to do in the world. I think I actually didn't do this one because I didn't know how to texture the blocks, like to make them all look like they were like the Minecraft blocks. Which is a really awful cop-out because A, that is super easy to do, and B, that would have been a good learning experience that I don't know why I didn't just, Google how do I basically model a block, or texture a block rather. It would have been only like 5 seconds long or something, so I don't know why I didn't go through with it. Because then I think it might have been because I wanted the torches to have a flame effect, and the flame effect would lag my computer to like high hell. Which is a more reasonable excuse, but at the same time I could have very easily come up with some sort of workaround for that. This one would be ridiculously simple to put together if I decided, hey, I want to make this. But the main reason I don't want to be doing that is because I feel like I work with too many simplistic models as it is. And I'd kinda like to focus more on doing things with more complicated characters. So obviously zero punctuation, it's like an MS Paint character, so cool idea, but I don't think it would be the best thing for me right now. A different Minecraft project I wanted to do was an animation about my super cool heat when I was about 15, maybe. It's one of those things that would have been really cool to do back then, because obviously when you're young you're making a bunch of unoriginal dumb jokes. You know, it's just some dumb kid. But I don't think I could do this now just because the humour is so kind of like... It's like all the obvious jokes about Minecraft, you know, they punch trees, punch sheep to get their wool, because that was a thing at one point apparently. Lots of gay jokes for some reason. 15-year-old me loved gay jokes. I think I have something repressed. Now, the key reason I remember this one is because there was a really dumb Herobrine joke in it I found so funny for some reason. The joke was just that he follows them around and he's a creepy pervert who just goes... Yeah, it was pretty weird, pretty surreal. This one was 2D animated instead of my usual CG stuff. I think this is before I actually discovered Blender, so... You know, I had no idea I could do CG stuff at the time. Obviously, 2D is, like, really difficult to do. I know people that do so much for, like, 2D animation, and I don't understand it, because I've tried it. It's so difficult. So I don't really blame myself for not really doing this one, but I kind of wish I'd powered through and made it, even though it would have been, like, really stiff and terrible. This third project is probably the one I'm most sad that I never finished. I don't know why I didn't finish this one. Probably because I was worried it would turn out to be bad. Which, yeah, but not terrible bad, if you know what I mean. So it was like a cowboy shootout around the time I started getting into like post-apocalyptic stuff, where two of the OCs from the last animation were gonna walk in with a third guy. They were gonna have a gunfight with another dude. So 4 dudes in total. What I actually did for this one, I got quite far into production for this one. I made an untextured town, and this is when I started actually embracing that creative laziness, because I didn't know how to do a skybox, or how to get a skybox to look semi-decent. So instead what I did was I covered the surroundings with big bugger-off cliffs, just so you couldn't see far enough into the distance where it would be an issue. I think it was a bit too ambitious though for the time, and that's probably why I ended up scrapping it. It had way too many physics objects in there, which I wasn't completely 100% sure how to use, and knowing what I know now, it would have been a mess. Like, I should have organised those models way differently than I actually did, but I still have a bunch of the assets from that saved on my computer. I could, in theory, remake it, and I have considered attempting that over the years. The main reason I haven't done that yet is because, again, the complicated models bit. The models were fairly simplistic, and I'm not 100% that I really want to be working with too many simplistic models, if you know what I mean. Not to mention that it also would have needed a bit of a rewrite, because I don't think it would feel like a complete story the way it was written out, because it was kind of just they walk in, they shoot each other, and I don't like the idea of doing things that aren't like full actual start, beginning, ends. I don't want to be just doing like a slice of a story, because although that might look good, it's not like super interesting to me. Not the short. I think the idea of the short is pretty interesting, but I don't think the amount of effort that would be required to fix up the short is the worth actually remaking it. So it's a cool idea, but it's just a little what if at this point. So sad. So there's a small list of projects I never finished but wish I did. If I could give advice to anyone, it would be just do your dumb animation / comic projects like ASAP. Take it from a relatively experienced artist, that uncertainty and feeling of, oh, is it good enough for this, to do this? That feeling never goes away, so it's better to learn to just kind of live with it instead of waiting until your art is at the point where you're quote-unquote happy with. Because there's always going to be something you dislike about your work, no matter how far along you are.